Hey, what's good? Andrew Rice has a background in cellular and molecular biology. He was born and raised and spent most of his life in Connecticut. And, like many families in that area, Andrew has been priced out of the housing market. Mixed with the current administration's blatant attack on education and sciences, Andrew Rice has decided that it was time for him to run for Connecticut's 3rd congressional district. C4 Explosives joins me in this conversation with Andrew Rice. Before we get into it, remember to go to coconutjustice.com to get you some clothes that I think would look good on you. Let's go. Hey, everybody. Andrew's back. Hi, Andrew.
Hello, Carlos. How's it going?
Doing well. How are you?
As I said earlier, minus the fascism, I'm doing all right.
So let's talk about fascism. But first, everyone, welcome back, C4 Explosives.
I never leave. I've never left.
I can't wait for you to finish reading all those books you got back there.
Man, you know what? This place gets bigger and bigger every time.
Very well read, young man.
It's wallpaper. I just line up my walls with books.
So you guys, Andrew Rice is back on the channel. He's running for office, Connecticut 3, the 3rd district of Connecticut. So, Andrew, tell us about the 3rd district. What's that like out there?
So it's primarily suburban. We have several major cities, the biggest one being New Haven. Then we have West Haven, Milford, Stratford, Wallingford, and Hamden are pretty big. And then we have a little bit, we have a place called like the Valley, which has a bit more of a rural feel to it. We're along the 95 corridor and the I-91 corridor. So it's a very smack dab in the middle of all of Connecticut's traffic.
Is that Connecticut's answer to the 405 in LA?
I've never been to the 405 in LA, but I imagine it is something similar. So I've lived in this state my entire life. I've lived along the I-95 corridor my entire life, and I've never not seen it under construction. I'm just wondering at what point in my life will I actually see these highways ever finished, and I just don't know if I will ever see that. It's been 30 years.
That's like what they say about Chicago. Chicago has 2 seasons, winter and construction.
Well, so in Connecticut, we just have construction.
You guys fight through the snow?
We fight through the snow. We don't care. We just like to construct everything, but somehow get nothing out of it. They redid the entire area. They hired all these, big shot consultants to plan the highways. And after they did all the reconstruction, traffic was somehow worse. And I'm like, I wonder who
that worked.
Yeah, I was like, that was fantastic. That did absolutely nothing to address.
Maybe it was a whole bunch of people living not in Connecticut. They were waiting for the construction to be done so they can move back, and then they clogged up all the highways and stuff.
That's actually not a bad point. I guess the other thing that I forgot was the whole COVID mess where everyone vacated New York City and decided to live along the I-95 corridor in Connecticut. So maybe it's really the New Yorkers' fault and COVID's fault.
Yeah.
Down here, they like
city government planning.
People wanting yards and the ability to cough.
Yeah, yards and coughing. Those are 2 things I never realized I should be grateful for.
Raises your property value.
Huh?
I said it raises your property value.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So
the only point of reference that I have for Connecticut, honestly, is when Ricky from I Love Lucy finally got, I don't know, whatever it was that he needed to make the move, but when he was finally successful, he decided to move to Connecticut.
That's a good selling point. Usually in Connecticut, our biggest selling points is that we are in between Boston and New York. That's how most people try to sell Connecticut, is that you are You don't have to be in either of those two major metropolitan areas, but you're close to both of them.
Yeah.
Welcome to Connecticut.
That's one thing it never ceases to amaze me is just how packed everything is there. Like, you guys talk about going to New York like we talk about going to Sacramento, and Sacramento is just a couple hours away.
Well, so on the if you drive there and there's no traffic, it takes about 60 minutes to get to New York. If you take the train, somehow it takes 2 hours. That's how shitty our train systems are in Connecticut, and something that needs to change, because in 2026 it should not take longer on a train to get somewhere than in a car. But then, of course, if you're in a car, there's usually the traffic, and that's what, makes the train somewhat faster.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm a big proponent of high-speed rail, and it's just very frustrating that you see places like Germany and China and Japan and literally like everywhere around the world have these, bullet trains that go, 200 miles an hour, and our trains are still going 50 miles an hour like we live in the 1950s. I'm like, what is going on? Well, I know what's going on. We're not investing in these things because
Exactly.
the car industry has a huge lobby, and I mean, I have a whole philosophy on why we need so many cars. I mean, not just because it's profitable, but the longer you keep people sitting in traffic, the less time they have for themselves, the more energy that's expended, because sitting in traffic takes a lot of energy and willpower to not call every single person every single swear word I've ever heard. And so I just imagine, if we had high-speed rail and people, could be productive on the train or nap or have some sense of free time. We don't want that,
Yeah.
because in this system, we wanted to deprive people as much of their time and energy as possible. That way they can't come up with new ideas. That way they're too tired to organize. They're too tired to be in their community. And
To make
so
change.
it's just a whole
It's
mess, and we need
it's
to
crazy to
address
it's crazy to
this.
think you're in a car and you think you're in control and you're not. They just have every inch
Yeah.
of you just pinned down.
Oh yeah, and then some of these, newer cars with all this technology, like, if you have a Tesla, Elon Musk can supposedly hear everything that's going inside that car and can shut it down at any time. I'm like,
Oh, hell no.
yeah, I'm like, I would love an electric vehicle. I can't afford one, but if I were to get one, I don't know if it would be a Tesla, because I'm like, I just do not trust that man with anything.
Especially after the hijinks he put us through with this whole Doge thing.
Okay, so Doge was always bullshit, but there were,
Yeah.
I think, two reasons behind it. One was so that he could get rid of all of the investigations into all of his shoddy practices, and
Mm-hmm.
two, um, making all those backdoors into our private data to feed to Palantir. And
Yeah.
so, either of you familiar with Lord of the Rings?
Yep.
So in Lord of the Rings, there's that artifact that's this crystal ball that the evil Lord Sauron uses to spy on all the people of Middle Earth, and it's
Mm-hmm.
pronounced Palantir in the movies, but it's spelt Palantir. It just has like a weird Gaelic accent that gives it that sound at the end. So it's like these
Yeah.
techno dorks aren't even trying to hide the fact that they are trying to create an all evil seeing eye to spy on all the people of America for the evil
Yep.
Lord Sauron, which is not Donald Trump. It is actually J.G. Vance. That is my prediction, that once they have these AI mega centers in place and they have all of our data crunched and they know how to keep us under control, they'll let Donald Trump die and have JD Vance, because Palantir, which was, I believe, the brainchild of Peter Thiel, he
Yeah.
bankrolled all of JD Vance's Senate campaign like 2022, and then he personally lobbied Don Jr. to have JD Vance be the vice president. And so I'm just like, okay, I do not trust like one of the most evil men in the world with this. And so that is why I'm convinced that JD Vance is the end product. So when people are like, "Oh, I can't wait for Trump to die," I'm like, actually,
Yeah.
that might be the worst case scenario, because at least Trump is limited by his own fragile ego versus someone like JD Vance, who will just bend over and do whatever the techno dorks want him to do.
Yeah.
That's why the
Yeah.
25th Amendment scares me. Like they say, "Let's do it," and I'm like, "For what?" Like, you're just expediting the a bigger problem.
That's why we need to really we need to impeach Donald Trump. We need to impeach JD Vance. We need to, well, then it would be Mike Johnson.
His whole cabinet.
His whole his whole cabinet needs to be
His whole cabinet.
impeached. Um,
Everyone is under investigation for something.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And if not, then we know that they're crashing grinder.
Like Mike Johnson.
Ooh.
Exactly.
I need to go to Louisiana and go on my grinder and see if I can expose him and be like, hey, um, I'm I'm like 99% sure that man he might be gayer than I am, which is difficult because I love certain anatomy. I'll try and keep it PG here, maybe PG-13.
Hey, since we're on that topic, let me ask you, have you always liked certain anatomies? Or was it something that they taught you to love?
Oh, I mean, obviously, I was taught to love that anatomy by the evil, gay agenda that's trying to turn all the frogs gay and trans. Um,
Oh, shit.
I'm the prime example of what happens when you don't go to church every Sunday and pray the gay away.
Yeah, yeah.
So I actually I came out after college. I think if I really, really think hard, I probably like knew that I was gay from a very young age because I would always like
Yeah,
look at, other kids my age and be like, oh, there was like a feeling there. I didn't know how to y- interpret that. And then later
yeah,
in life, I look back, I'm like, oh, yep, I was totally checking out, boys my
sure.
age at the time. And then when I grew up, I was like, oh, that's what that is. But it is funny when people, nowadays when people are like, oh, if we let kids read gay books, they're going to turn out gay and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, that's funny because growing up, all I ever saw was a man and a men and women kissing and fucking and doing all of that. I never
Yeah.
really saw two men doing any of this. And sure enough, that didn't stop me from winding up liking the dick. So, so, so I love when
Yeah,
people are like, "Oh, these."
that's like similarly, when I was a kid, I was forced to go to church and forced to read the Bible and forced to do all the things, and I never grew up to be a pastor.
Weird how these things work out.
Nothing but respect to pastors, nothing but respect for those folks that believe in all the things. I get it. I get it. However, when you're talking about scientific chemistry, and my man is telling you, I've been exposed to what you guys consider normal or satisfactory or whatever. He never
Mhm.
wanted to play that game.
Oh, I mean, there are some gay men who are just so confident in their gayness, and that for me, I really struggled for a while, and did try and pursue women because that was what the expectation was, and I didn't want people
Sure.
to know because I also I started like coming to terms with it when George W. Bush was running around for reelection, being like, "Hey, we need to make sure that gay people can't get married." And so, when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, maybe I need to, not be gay." And so like I struggled with it for a long time. To this day, I still kind of struggle every now and then because if I bake a cupcake or a cookie or I decorate well, people are like, "Oh, of course you can." But the minute I pick up a hammer and I build something or I fix a pipe or I install a toilet, people are like, "Oh, I'm surprised you can do that." And I'm like, "Why? Because liking dick makes me incompetent to do anything else besides bake?"
That was like me coming up. I had a very strict mom. And then I joined the military. And then when I got out, I'd be out and be, chasing the girls and stuff. And then they'd come to my place and everything was clean and put away, and everyone thought that I was gay. I was like, I'm not gay, I'm just clean.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah. Is either, and girls would admit to me that they would go in the bathroom and look around to see if there was any like feminine products or anything, because it was just clean. I was like, has nothing to do with a very strict mom and basic training. All right, cool.
But it is very weird. The what is it? The heteronormative whatever that if you're a clean man, then suddenly you're gay. If you're a dirty man, you're straight. I mean, you should see my house
Yeah.
right now. It's a mess. People, if you came into my house
You're not gay.
and looked at the mess, you would think that I'm straighter than ruler. But no, I don't have time to clean up because I'm on the campaign trail or on Grindr, like our Speaker of the House.
On the hunt for Mike Johnson. Have you encountered
Was
any
it tough?
have you encountered any constituents that have had any issues with that?
Yeah.
Constituents, no. I mean, I've gotten the random faggot and whatnot on some comments. I'm just like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
you don't. So as a public figure or someone who aspires to be a public figure, people are angry and traumatized, and sometimes you just have to accept the fact that you are going to be an outlet for someone to release that anger, frustration, and trauma onto. And I've been through enough therapy to realize that you can't take it personally. They've never personally met me. They have been indoctrinated. They have been taught a certain way. And maybe they've never, truly heard another point of view without being accosted by someone. And so I do just try and remember that was it hurt people. And so if you go out of your way to like hurt someone or you try and hurt me, not always easy. I don't always, sometimes I fail, but I always try to remember that I'm just happy that I'm in a good enough place where I don't hurt that much to want to inflict that kind of hurt onto someone else. So it's try and make a positive out of everything.
Yeah. And that just reminds me of folks that would rather not have more, only to take away from other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. What was it? Jon Stewart had someone go around in like the South asking about healthcare, and they're like, "Oh, if that means black people getting healthcare, then I don't want healthcare." I'm like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
Like, that makes no
And if
sense.
you don't see that that's a problem, like, that's ridiculous.
Yes,
And the same thing for the gays, and the same thing for the browns, and the same thing for the whoever they decide to. Now it's the Iranians. It's always someone. And folks just can't chill out. Let's work on the system that we're supposed to be living under. So then that way, everything gets good for everybody. Stop being so goddamn cave person.
Yeah. So I
100%.
think that everyone should see a therapist and smoke a joint, and I think a lot of problems could be solved. If
Now
everyone just
you're
got
talking.
high,
Now
ate
you're
some
talking.
food, listened to some music, and saw a therapist, I think we could move beyond a lot of these problems.
And then we can
That
sing karaoke
leads
together.
me to this.
Obviously, there's got to be karaoke involved in this.
Duh.
It wouldn't be a party without it.
We have to celebrate somehow. I was going to say something I completely forgot. Damn it.
Oh, shit.
Anyway.
I was like, you're on the spot. You have to remember now. Now I'm curious.
No, it happens all the time. Because just derails and my brain is just firing off at like 90 miles an hour.
We were talking about therapy and cannabis. I don't know if that helps.
Yes, that's what it was. I've been talking to people about like you know how we start with, the government starts with an ungodly amount of money and it never reaches the problem areas. It never reaches the homeless people. It never reaches the roads, the bridges. It never quite reaches. So to me, in my head, that means we have too much bureaucracy getting in the way of the funds. Since we're talking about universal basic income any damn way, we should come up with a way to, I don't know if it's associated to your social security card, your voter registration card, your license. I don't know. But instead of giving money to all these hands that keep chipping away at the problem solving money, we just take that money and give it to the people, universal basic income.
Mm-hmm.
And now all the programs that need to be had will be had because everyone who needs to take advantage of that program has the money. So now we have all the consumers and they're going to tell us what is needed.
I like that. So I mean, I think I'm very anti-capitalist. I do not like capitalism. I think we need to move beyond that. And part of the reason why is capitalism doesn't encourage problem solving, because if you solved a problem, you can no longer profit off of it.
Yeah.
And so there's always an incentive for there to be a problem so that you can always make money off of it. And so that's why I got like a really disenfranchised with my career in science, because to me, science is doing what is best to move mankind forward, what is best to create a better quality of life for everyone. And I come to realize that in science, we're trained more on treatment, because treatment is much more profitable than a cure or prevention. And so you just have all of these things that it's like a subscription to your health. And I didn't like that, because I got into science to help everyone, not to, well, one, just help people with health insurance, but then only help them in treatment. I would like to prevent disease and cure disease. But no, the profit driven motive dictates that we must treat disease, because that is what will keep the insurance industry profitable. And that's what will keep big pharma profitable. And then, you have, this, we don't want good, nutritious food, because if we had good, nutritious food, well, then you couldn't sell people, the obesity drugs or the statins or all of this. And so you just see how everything has become just a gobbledygook of bullshit, because everyone has to make a profit. And I think that's another issue with like all the bureaucracy thing, is that when you give all of this money to the government and then they give it to private industry to distribute and whatnot, all of those bureaucratic levels have some sort of profit in there. And so in order for these places to make that profit, they're just taking away from being able to provide the services. And this is why I'm not like, when people are like, oh, we need that, public-private partnership. I'm like, no, we just need to have people who want to do the right thing with the resources that they have to improve everyone's lives. But that makes me a leftist scum communist bastard.
Damn you.
Meanwhile, I always have the software community as a perfect example for this. People say, oh, it's money drives invention and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, there is the open source community that doesn't give two shits about how much money you have. We're going to be building software no matter how much money you put on the table. It's just what we do. Like, now that I'm making a little bit more noise on social media, people are calling me out on stuff, and I'm like, you're calling me out on dumb shit. My focus is making it good for everyone. And it's just how it is. Like, open source community, it's free. Even if you have to pay. So for example, I edit videos in DaVinci Resolve. They have a free tier. And then there's other stuff that I ended up paying for the bigger one because I'm apparently a bigger editor.
Nerd.
But this bullshit that people are telling you, oh, it takes money to make all this stuff. No, they want to control what you're doing with your time and your money and your efforts because it's chipping away at their power.
No, exactly. And so I mean, like, going back to, I'm not a big AI person, but the America has invested millions and billions of dollars into AI and ChatGPT and all of this, and then weren't the Chinese able to like make an AI model that was more robust than our AI models for like a quarter of the cost?
Mm-hmm.
Just going
Everything's
to
more
show that
efficient.
money isn't always
Yeah.
everything. I mean, money helps.
Oh, if you really want to have a good time, go take a look at Chinese cars. You
What?
can get a Chinese car that blows an American car out of the water for a fraction of the price, like $10,000, $15,000 in a Chinese car. You have automatic windows, the sun thing, and all kinds of stuff, and it makes you coffee and it rubs your belly. All the things, all the things. We're paying $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for a car.
But the base model.
You know?
Yeah, a couple years ago, I get another car, and I only drive manuals. I hate automatics, and the
I love
only manual
manuals.
I could find was the Nissan Versa, and it was still $20,000. It's the smallest car I could get, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I mean, I'm surprised it doesn't have roll down windows. Like, it does have the automatic windows, but it has no bells and whistles. And I'm like, this is outrageous. When I got a car
How's that
10 years
AM
ago, it was
radio
like,
treating you?
the what?
The AM radio.
Oh God. It's just crazy in this country how everything is just so hyper capitalistic and everything is squeezing the working class people of every
Yeah.
single dime that they can get. And
Yeah.
I mean, there are some of these fancy
And
cars
the
now.
rich
It's like you don't
people
even know
are
the what?
the rich people are just gross about it too. And let me tell you, if you are poor and you think that all these rich people are doing things to your benefit and all that stuff, and you just got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and stuff, you should hang out with more rich people because their life does not have any friction like that whatsoever.
Wait, so I was talking to someone the other day, and I was mentioning something about like taxing the billionaires, and the first thing that came up was like, oh, but like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, they started from nothing, and they worked in their garages. I'm like, well, some people don't even have garages, but Bezos
Tyler
got
Perry was homeless for a hot second.
yeah. So like someone like Bezos, he got $300,000 loan from his parents. I'm like, imagine what I could do or what you could do with a $300,000 loan from your parents.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk, well, his father owned an emerald mine in apartheid South Africa. And
Yeah.
Bill Gates, his mother was on the board of IBM, who got someone in IBM to invest in, her son's whatever. Taylor
Yeah.
Swift, I think her parents were like record label people. I'm like, so all of these billionaires, they didn't start from nothing. They weren't homeless
Right.
and then became billionaires. I'm sure there's that one random person that might have literally started with absolutely nothing and became a billionaire, but it is not. There's anecdotal versus statistical. Of
Yeah.
course, there's going to be an anecdote of someone doing that, but that is not the norm. There's always going to be that one person that can slide through the cracks of the system meant to keep us down. But that whole model is necessary to validate capitalism's existence, because the capitalists will point to Jeff Bezos and all these rich people and be like, that could be you too. It's just like 1% chance that could be
Yeah.
0.01% chance that could be you. And it's
And
just
then mix in there that control that we keep talking about. For example, you brought up Taylor Swift and all these knuckleheads, right? The music industry has a lot of money, and they will give a band a contract only to put them on the shelf because they want to control what you're listening to.
Mhm.
So, for example, if Taylor Swift had someone else who sang Taylor Swift-like songs, they're going to buy or they're going to give that person a contract, but they won't make any records. They're not going to push them because that person is interfering with the offering that is Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
That's your control.
Yes, and so another thing that I started understanding more running for office is I'm a proponent of regulation, but I've come to realize that a lot of regulations that we have are not actually there for public safety. It is there to prevent competition. And I feel like that's what you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about. The record
Yeah.
labels signing a contract but not pushing your record. It is to prevent competition from Taylor Swift. And so it is very, very interesting that in this capitalist society where, innovation and competition and blah, 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 all of these policies are put in place to prevent competition against the major corporations and conglomerations. There's nothing innovative about what these companies are doing. The only innovation to me of capitalism is exploitation and driving down the quality of a product. And that is why everything we buy nowadays is just
100%.
absolute crap that lasts like a
Mhm.
year or two before you have to get it again, because that's the only way you can continue to make things profitable is driving down quality or exploiting labor. And that's where we're at with so many things. And again, there's just so many things that are wrong with this world because no one it's like, to me, I feel like we should be waking up every day not thinking like, how do I make profit? It should be like, how do I fulfill my life? How do I do something to push all my community forward, to make it a better place for everyone to live, or even just something that I enjoy. So like if you love cars, then yeah, go like be a car salesman and but like do it because you enjoy it, not because you think you can make all this money off of it. Because
Yep.
everyone's just so miserable all the time trying to make all this money and just like, what the point? What's the point of having all this money if you're miserable all the time?
And what's tough is
Yeah.
too is that the things that you're passionate about, they make it impossible for you to make a living off of, you know? So,
If it's creative.
right. Or
If it's
if you
creative.
do love cars, if you're not out there just or grinding and just doing what you like, you know, balls to the wall, making it happen day in and day out, and you're struggling, it's gonna hinder your dream. So then therefore you fall back into the channel and then you're doing whatever the mundane tasks that you do to survive on a daily basis.
Mhm. And let me tell you, rich people aren't fixing cars. Well, let me say it like this. That's a huge generalization. But for the most part, rich people aren't in the garage. They're in the office making calls to their money people saying, buy this, sell that, buy this, sell that. So when they tell you that you're not working hard enough, ain't that a bitch?
I mean,
They're in the office.
I was saying these rich people probably don't even necessarily have cars that they use to drive. They have their private jets and their yachts, and
Yeah.
that's why I like a lot of the roads I think
6
are
yachts
shit
and
is
all the
because
dumb
the rich
shit.
people don't
Yeah.
have to drive on them. They can just take a
Right.
helicopter from their private house to their private airport to their private jet to their their friend's private island where there's a bunch of underage children that they can, ritualistically sacrifice and eat and do whatever God knows what, because that is apparently. I never thought like that is so weird. You have
That
billions
is
of
so
dollars,
strange.
and instead, like at least the billionaires back, like the Rockefellers and the Carnegies, they're like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna make a library," and then Rockefeller's like, "I'm gonna make a university," and then Carnegie was like, "Well, I'm gonna make two universities," and they had a dick measuring competition on who could do like more good in the community and build libraries and
Yeah.
all this shit. The current
Yeah.
billionaires are basically like, "Well, I raped more children than you," and it's just, and I have more
Oh,
zeros at the
yeah?
end of my
Well, I
bank
ate
account.
6 of them.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that
Oh.
is the.
Yeah.
It's so weird how
Now
that.
this is what's crazy. I can't remember who I was talking about this with, but I was saying at what point in history, because I do appreciate business people and like making the connection between me and bananas that grow in the middle of the jungle in wherever the hell Chiquita Banana has a place. I understand that there's a value to what you bring to the argument. I get it. My question was, when was it that businessmen just let the creepy ones take over? And the answer was the beginning of this country, the businessmen enslaved people. There was never a time where a business people actually were doing the right thing for the country. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
business people have always been shady. They've always been shitty. They've always been greedy. They've always been.
mm-hmm.
You might have one or two that actually have their heart in the right place and they make the right. I don't know who that person is. I haven't met them yet, but
there was this one person that was visited by 3 ghosts on Christmas Eve, and he became a good businessman.
but that was at the tail end of his life. In the movie, oh boy,
Yeah.
was like 2 weeks away from punching the clock.
That is better late than never.
All his friends are dead. He's the only one that's left.
Friends or business associates. I don't think he had friends.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think
what kind of... Go ahead, Andrew.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I think that's one thing I've also realized is in this system, we're so deprived of human connection, and the way we compensate for that is to buy material things that ultimately don't make us happy, but give us that quick dopamine hit. And again, that's
And talk to our phones.
Oh my God, I'm so addicted to my phone. It's terrible. It is absolutely awful. And I know better. And it's like, I know that I should not, by this thing's just turning my mind to mush, but I'm just like, more puppy, hot man.
But that's,
death.
but that, and that's the question, right? We're leveraging social media to communicate and to connect and to get these ideas out. The short term that I use is practicing democracy. We're sharing ideas, we're beating up ideas, we're seeing what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So I try to give myself a little bit of flexibility because you're not going to make it in social media or in media at all unless you do social media and or media. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me, what I do is when we're getting ready for bed, everything goes on sleep mode, and I go and I watch a couple videos while I get ready for bed, and then that shit don't turn back on until the morning time. But when I'm awake, this is my job.
Mm-hmm.
Editing videos, talking to you guys, all that stuff. I have to give myself that much flexibility because it's what we do.
Oh, I mean, something like this is not the same as watching, the 20-second, 1-minute videos. Like an actual long form discussion is fantastic, but those aren't the things that, we couldn't upload this entire video to Instagram and have Instagram recommended to new audiences because it has to stay under that 3-minute mark. And so I realized the other day that I became a victim to this system where even my attention span, I was like, oh my God. There's a guy named Dylan Blaha, and he made a post about how a Republican was being targeted by his own party. And before I finished watching his video where he explains in 10 seconds the Republican that was being targeted, I'm already like, oh my God, who's the Republican being targeted? And I posted it, and someone's like, dude, if you just watch the video, he tells you. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I'm that asshole that couldn't sit there for another 5 seconds to watch something. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to watch
A-
myself now.
and this is how like all the streaming services get you now, right? Now they have the commercials and the ads. So,
Yeah.
5 minutes are in the game, and then all of a sudden you have to, you're like, I can't get through this ad. I'm jumping on my phone. I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to stay busy. And the next thing you
Yeah.
know, I'm paying $10, $25 a month to get rid of the ads, right? And
Yeah.
they just get you in this vicious cycle where you're dumping hundreds and thousands of dollars a year because you can't pay attention long enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a social media and the phone are very interesting because I used to think that, I used to I can text like, 20 people at the same time, whereas I can't have a conversation with 20 people at the same time. And I used to think like, oh wow, the phone really helps me to connect more with people. And then I realized it just gives us the illusion of connection. And so oddly enough, I used to be a phlebotomist. I'm no longer certified, but in phlebotomy class, I learned a statistic that only 7% of human communication is done through word choice, and the other 93% is done through body language, tone of voice, even just
Mm-hmm.
if you walk into a room and you can feel tension, that it's like there's even this form, it's better than, texting or phone conversation because we can at least see each other's faces. You can see my hand moving and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
not being there in person with you, there's still some percentage of the message that isn't coming across because of that other, just like, again, like that vibe that people have.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is very interesting when you step back and look at all of this, it just how much we don't understand how this shit affects us before we dive right into it. And that's one of my biggest concerns about AI is that, yeah, it probably could be a really cool tool, but until we actually fully understand what it does to our brains and to our ways of functioning and our ways of critical thinking, it's a dangerous tool to just put out there because now we're starting to see the effects of what social media has done to especially younger people. And so I fear that we're just gonna we always repeat the same mistakes, and at what point do we, as a society, like learn not to repeat these mistakes?
We're seeing that. We saw
Mm-hmm.
this in football, right? CTE, right? They didn't wear helmets. They wore helmets that were made out of leather, and they're crashing each other and like colliding like two rams in the middle in the wherever in the field, right? And all of a sudden, there's these long term effects that are going on in their brain, and then they can't do anything. So we haven't had a long enough runway or data to actually figure out what is going on in our brains to figure this shit out. And now you can go ahead and get an AI girlfriend that looks like whoever you want, and there is no social connection with any human being if you really don't want one. It's fucking crazy, man.
Which is because humans are very social creatures. And one of the reasons why
Yeah.
we are the apex species on this planet is because of our ability to collaborate with one another. At Yale, there's the Peabody Museum, and it was showing that the reason why we were able to develop such a complex society is because humans were able to collaborate in ways that other species just weren't able to. And this wasn't necessarily a speech thing. A lot of it had to do with like nonverbal cues and whatnot. But having that social connection is so important to humans. And um yeah, like the AI girlfriends and all of that. I mean, even like just like pornography these days, I guess, has gotten so wild that there are guys that just can't get hard unless they're seeing like two people shit on one each other while drinking piss. I'm like, oh God. um I was like,
That's overrated.
Who punches that code in? Like, oh shit, damn it, man.
yeah,
I know.
I do not want to see this search history on some of the younger people's porn accounts because I can only imagine what weird stuff comes out of their oh, did Siri just, I think Siri just
The series like going to your favorites.
yeah, I know,
Pornhub.
please don't. No one needs to see that many dicks on a screen at once.
But going back to like how easy it is to miscommunicate and to receive information incorrectly, like
Mhm.
you know, we're visual people. We see, and that's how we've learned to survive. We're able to see and like move our heads around and stuff like that. But when it comes to the new technology, text and email, that shit, like how many times have you read a text or an email and it has nothing to do with anything? It's just a normal email that came through, but just because you're going through a day, you read it the wrong way. And then you sprinkle in just a little bit of dyslexia for some of us, and you know what I mean? And you misunderstand something. And the person who sent the text or email was like, that's not exactly what I was trying to, and you're like, fuck you, Gladys. Right?
Gladys is a bitch. I don't know what your experience with her is, but
What do you mean by have a nice
that's
day?
happened to me. Yeah.
so
That's happened to me at work, and you're like, what are you doing? We just had a conversation about this. Why are you sending this email like that? No, it's just informing the team. Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to, you know, past the boundaries of your responsibilities or whatever the case may be and what it said, misunderstanding. But yeah, we're so social that something as simple as a text message can be misunderstood. And if I said the same exact words in the same exact lineup, you'd be able to understand it a little better.
Yep. And so so I know as a lot of times I will try and either add like an exclamation point or an emoji in there to,
Yeah.
try and make things a little bit more clear. But, and I've seen, I don't know if this is a Gen Z thing. I'm a millennial, but I've heard this is a Gen Z thing. I hate the thumbs up emoji because I can never tell if it's this or,
Yeah, like a
'cause,
sarcastic
yeah,
one.
like a sarcasm, like, okay.
Great fucker, here
Yeah,
you go.
versus, yeah, dude, versus like, okay, got it. I'm like, those are 3 different messages from the same thumbs up.
Yeah.
So when someone thumbs up a text, depending, I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Are you being a sarcastic asshole? I thought that.
Or it could be up yours.
Or it could be up yours too.
Let's get back to you being a scientist.
What do you want to know?
Were you always a geeky kid?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
In the books and in the dicks?
So I was actually
paper
never,
cuts.
wait, what about the paper cuts?
I still books and the dicks, man. It's just say watch out for paper cuts.
Ooh, what? Oh God. Oh, that I don't like that. I don't like that at all. No,
No.
so I grew up on Star Trek and Star Wars. So I've always, sci-fi's always been my thing.
Do you favor one over the other?
I like Star Wars more than I like Star Trek. And then within Star Wars, my favorite is The Empire Strikes Back. And then in Star Trek, my favorite series is Voyager.
Okay.
Catherine Janeway's my boo. I would follow Captain Janeway to the ends of the galaxy and back. She's got my full confidence.
I was the next generation kind of guy. I think it was because of LeVar Burton, and he was in Reading Rainbow.
So I never saw Reading Rainbow.
That's 'cause we're
do
Gen
yourself
X.
a favor. Yeah.
Is that a Gen X thing? Okay.
You got to be old.
Okay, yeah, no, okay. So I missed out on the Reading Rainbow, but I mean, I do love me some Geordie LaForge.
There you go. All right, scientist, action.
Yeah, scientists.
Who was it? Oh, Beverly Crusher was the. So I mean, I would always follow the blue shirts because they were the science people. The yellow
Yeah.
shirts were the engineers, and then the red shirts were the command officers. So I always had an affinity for the blue shirts because I'm like, they're the ones that are doing the science. They're the ones that are, pushing forward medicine. And so I've always had
Right.
a bit
They're
of an
doing the work.
affinity for the medical aspect of science.
Yeah. So Star Trek got your passions going for science.
Yep. Yep. And then
Nice.
uh so actually before I went to college, I was deciding between political science and science. And
Hmm.
so Star Trek gave me my affinity for science, and Star Wars gave me my affinity for political science. Because in
Oh.
1999, when those disputed trade routes caused a planetary war, I was like, "This is cool." Everyone thought it was stupid, and then sure enough, in 2026, a trade route is causing planetary concerns for our people. So I'm like, well, apparently George Lucas did something right. Oh, where'd our friend go? He disappeared.
I don't know. If he's at Panera, it could be just about anything.
Shitty internet connection. It's 2026. I should be able to get internet wherever I am in this world. There's the technology.
For real. It's just not, And again, capitalism gets in the way.
Uh-huh.
If you were to leverage the internet for this connectivity that we keep talking about, and the social awareness that you can glean from staying connected. But no, there's always a paywall. There's always some hurdle. No, that's not. No, you can't have. No, you. Meanwhile, earlier we were talking about, we're comparing China and all these other places. China invests heavily in education. India invests heavily in education. Iran invests heavily in education. Israel invests heavily in education. Europe invests heavily in education. We're the only place, it seems like we're the only place on the planet that's like, nah, we good. You guys need to go be dumb.
Yes. Yeah. So there's one of my biggest inspirations is George Carlin, and one of his stand-ups skits, he's like, we need people smart enough to work the machines, but dumb enough to not question why they're doing it in the first place. And I'm like, it's so true. And that's actually I think that was actually something that Rockefeller started. The education board, which eventually kind of turned into, well, the Department of Education didn't begin until Jimmy Carter's period. But before that, I think there was the General Education Board, and that was started by either Ford or Rockefeller or something, because they wanted the government to uh, hold the responsibility of training the workforce so that they didn't have to spend money on training the workforce. And so I'm a huge proponent of education, but I don't necessarily feel like we do education in this country. We do indoctrination.
Yeah.
You sit there from 9 to 3, and you have to ask to go to the bathroom, and you're given homework, and it's like, this is to prepare children for the 9 to 5 grind, to
Hmm.
get them used to being in a place at a time, being told what to do, following instructions, taking bathroom breaks when it's convenient for the store owner. And then
Hmm.
homework is just a way of conditioning them into accepting later on in life their boss texting them in the after hours, being like, hey, I need you to do this. And you being like, oh, yeah, I'll do that because I'm so used to having to
Yeah.
take my work home with me from school.
Yeah.
And so, so I have my bachelor's and my master's. I really I really want to say that I didn't really learn about critical thinking skills until I got my master's. That's a
In
problem.
would you get your master's in?
Cellular and molecular biology.
Ooh.
Because like in undergrad, it really was just memorizing facts and being able to regurgitate them, which is stupid because I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, that's what a library is for. But now, I have all the, knowledge of mankind in the palm of my hand. I don't need to remember everything. I need to understand how to challenge what I'm seeing, how to learn that what I'm seeing can be applied in different areas that aren't a direct repeat of what I've been studying. And so I would really like to see more critical thinking at a younger, earlier age. But again, we don't want people being too smart, because if they're too smart, they're going to question why they're doing this shit that they're doing.
Right. That's specifically why they go and they get 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old boys, kids, to join the military, especially boys, because we're dumb. We're dumb. You say, oh, go over there and blow things up. You're like, hoo-ha, yeah, hoo-ha.
For freedom!
I've been there. I've been there.
I was too much of a little bitch to ever be in the military.
Yeah. But no, they do that because we don't question, and you're coming out of that system that you were just talking about that is priming you for this shit. So right after high school, you just got done doing your Constitution test. You're feeling pretty good. You're feeling very American and all the things. And then when you're older, you're like, you want me to fight? Who? Why? Why are we over there in the first place?
You want me to fight
for me,
Iran
this
for
whole Israel
No,
thing?
thank you.
For me, this whole Israel thing is blowing my mind, because it's like we're defending a nation that is gentrifying the region.
Yep.
Israel has been there. When did it start? Like 1940s?
1948, 1947 was the UN resolution, and then I think 1948 was the partition of mandatory Palestine into Israel.
Israel is 30 years, roughly 30 years older than me.
Mm-hmm. How many genocides have you committed?
I can't. Maybe the one at Kmart, maybe, but no, I can't remember any. And I understand, like, people are going to get upset. Blah, blah, blah. Listen, just because this book says that you come from over there doesn't mean you get to go back to over there. Like, they're shoehorning these folks there. And to me, I don't see a difference between what's happening with the people in Gaza. There's no difference in what they're doing to the Black and brown communities here in America.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the promise of America. I love the idea of immigrants coming together and the melting pot, and that is a beautiful story. But there's also a very dark story underneath that of genocide and enslavement, because these lands were stolen from indigenous people for colonization by the Europeans. And then once we took out all of the natives and made space for white people and European people, we also brought the slaves over from Africa. I think we're the only nation that had like race-based slavery and made race the primary driver of who a slave was and who a slave wasn't. And then we built up our economy, we built up our infrastructure, we built up all of this wealth on stolen land and the labor of enslaved people.
And stolen labor.
Mm-hmm. And
these are the business people that I was referring to before.
And the people like to say that slavery was abolished. I'm like, no, it was not abolished. It was rebranded as prison labor.
Yeah. And corporate America, because last time we spoke, I told you guys, when I was in corporate America, I was working 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 hour work weeks Not 2 weeks, not a month. 1 week, I would put in between 90 and 100 hours. And then when I said, screw this, I'm going to dial it back down to like 50 to 60, I got taken into the office to get reprimanded because I wasn't working as hard as I usually work.
You're not a team player, Carlos.
That is
So it's still there.
so. I mean, I've always worked for nonprofits because I don't like the corporate grind. I'm so going back to Grinder. I was on Grinder one time, and there was someone that was like teasing me. They're like, "Oh, you only work 40 to 50 hours a week." Well, I'm pulling like 60, 70, 80-hour work week, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, why are you wearing your exploitation on
Why?
your sleeve like a badge of honor? Shouldn't you be like, I was like, I was like, if you want to work yourself to death, go ahead and do that. But you're not going to make me feel
Yeah.
bad for not wanting to be exploited by, someone who's going to be making millions of dollars off of me being more productive. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you could act, if you actually took a step back and we all were like, you know what, we're not working more than 40 hours a week and we actually all stuck together, then the working or the ruling class would have no choice but to, work with us. We outnumber them 100 to 1. They're
Yeah.
organized. They have class solidarity. The ruling class, they are all on the same page. They are all in that big club, and the rest
Yep.
of us are just unorganized. And then, we all work together to raise the cow, and then the ruling class takes that cow, slaughters it, takes the filet mignon, takes the flank,
Mm-hmm.
takes all the ribeye, all that, the T-bone, all of it, and then they throw hot dogs at the working class and tell us to be grateful. And it's just like, no, if we all work together, we all could get the spoils of the cow and not just the hot dog, which is just,
Mm-hmm.
pressurized water pushing meat off of the bone. Have you ever seen how hot dogs are made?
No.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they basically, so after they get rid of all the meat on the cow, they take pressurized water and on the bones, and that pushes all the rest of the meat off. Then it creates this like sludge that they dehydrate and condense and then put into like, I mean, it used to be intestines, but now I think it's just some
Yeah.
sort of fake whatever. And that's what a hot dog is literally just the pressurized water meat from the dead carcass of a cow.
Was a Great Outdoors, the movie with John Candy. He said, "You know what hot dogs are made out of? Cow lips and assholes."
Basically, there's like zero real meat in a hot dog. And yeah, so the ruling class just gives us those,
Mm-hmm.
and then they blame the immigrants or the trans people as to why you can't get two hot dogs, and just like, no, it's the pedophiles that own the billionaire pedophile parasites that are taking away the meat and having you
Mm-hmm.
blame the immigrant and the trans and your neighbor for not having more. And it's just, I think we're getting to a point though where there is a bit more understanding that this is going on. And I think that is probably one of the positives of social media is that
Mm-hmm.
this is the first time in history that we can try and send out a coordinated message to the masses. I think
Mm-hmm.
the elites are trying to push back on that. So like today I just saw that the shareholders of Warner Brothers have voted in favor of selling off to Paramount. And so, Paramount, who's owned by Ellison, TikTok's now owned by
Yep.
Ellison. And so, back in the 90s or something, there were like 80 different cable companies and whatnot. Now there's like, five big conglomerates that own all
Yeah.
of media. And if this merger goes through, I think like 81% of the media market will be owned by one person. I'm like, nothing can go wrong with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And this is the problem that I try to explain to folks that are anti-socialist, that are, that are capitalist and everything. There comes a time where someone's quote unquote success, number one, you've screwed people, you've done dirty shit to get to that point, one, to begin with. Number two, we need to have more decision making possibilities or offerings so we can survive a little better, because now we have this dude that's going to be owning 81% of the things, and when someone owns that much, it's what they say.
Mm-hmm.
They dictate the future. And we're learning that not only did they molest, but they're also like eating these kids, and you want them in charge of the decision making process?
So people go into like the supermarkets and the stores, and they see that you can get, rainbow flavored Oreo and regular Oreo and chocolate fudge Oreo and peanut butter Oreo and Reese's Pieces Oreo. And, you have 20 different options of Oreos, and people think that's choice. But then when you look at all the different, Chips Ahoy, Oreo, Ritz, all these, it's all owned by like,
Keebler.
Nabisco or something.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
have like, you have 20 different cereal options. They're not really different options. They're all owned by, Kellogg. And you just have, we've done a very good job at creating the illusion of choice by having, hot dog flavored potato chips. I'm just like, ew.
And that's the frustrating thing, is like, that's not even the choice that I want. I want the choice to get into film. I want the choice to go to Connecticut if I needed to, those are the choices. That the availability of choice for me is how I can improve my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want rich people telling me where I can go, where I can't go,
Or what I can or cannot say, because
or what I can and cannot say. Exactly.
and I mean, both sides have been terrible with censorship, and I mean, a lot of it does come back to Palestine, where the Democrats were don't want the right censoring them, but then went ahead and censored anyone that was pro Palestine and said genocide was bad. The Democrats helped get thousands of students across the country expelled and job loss, and job offers rescinded because they took a stand against genocide. And so now so I'm sure you've all heard of Project 2025, but there's actually a sub project within it called Project Esther, where the plan is to conflate pro-Palestine movements with anti-Semitism, to begin the process of linking anything anyone disagrees with anti-Semitism, to shut down any sort of dialogue or debate that goes against the Zionist agenda. And so I don't understand what is going through Jewish Zionists' heads, because are you both familiar with the story of the end times and the rapture?
Yeah.
So in order for the rapture to occur, the Christians have to expel all of the Muslims.
Which was, come to find out, the rapture was invented, or it came out in like, what year was it?
1831 by Jonathan Nelson Darby.
Yeah.
And then the first.
So is some TV evangelist before there was TV convinced people that the rapture was going to happen.
But in order for that to happen, the Christians have to uphold their oath to God to bequeath the land of the Levant to the Jews. That way, when the rapture occurs at the onset of the apocalypse, Jesus can come down to Israel, have all the Jews amassed there, and then give them one last opportunity to accept him as Lord and Savior or murder them all. So literally, the Christian Zionists want all the Jews in the world in Israel to kill them. And I'm like, don't the Jewish Zionists realize that is what the Christians are trying to do, is literally round you all up into one area so that their savior can kill you all? And like, you're going along with this? It's like, I don't understand. Like, you're literally moving towards your own doom because the Christians control like everything. They just also happen to be Zionists, because there are actually more Christian Zionists than there are Jews in the entire world. There are 15 million Jews, and in just Christians United for Israel, which is a Christian Zionist organization, their membership is 25 million. And that's not even the only Christian Zionist organization.
Yeah.
There are more Christians that want to see this happen than Jewish people see this happen. And those are the Christians that believe in the rapture. And I'm like, is no one paying attention to the fact that, and then even when Donald Trump started attacking Iran on Israel's behest, there were reports of military people coming forward saying that their leaders were saying that this war is the flame that will ignite the apocalypse, and this was God's plan for Trump. And I'm just like, and people are just going about their normal day as if everything's all right. And I'm like, am I crazy?
Yeah.
Did you see Chip Roy's trying to pass the Mamdani Act?
In the country of freedom of speech and land of all that shit. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't. Also, the other fun part is,
Jesus. Go ahead.
It's fucking crazy, but in the 1950s, the CIA did a great job of the Red Scare. Someone told me this one time, like, this is hilarious. You can't even spell socialism without CIA being in the middle of it. So if you spell socialism, it's actually CIA. And so if you actually tell people socialist policies or even like communist policies, you just don't use those two words. People are always like, yeah, that sounds great. Once you use those two words, suddenly people are turned off. I'm like, that is just the propaganda and the testament of how well our government has propagandized people against the idea of socialism and communism. And the government's always like, do you know any successful socialist or communist nations? Well, considering Cuba's communist and they have more doctors per capita than any other nation, and they have, supposedly they have a cure for lung cancer, and they have like a promising cure for Alzheimer's. Imagine what they could have achieved if we had not been embargoing them for their entire existence as a communist nation.
Exactly. And let's go ahead and poke that because you're talking to a Cuban. Let's go ahead and pull on that thread. The reason why Cuba is communist is because when Fidel was about to take over, he made a deal with the American government. They said, when you take over, we're going to sell a bunch of, you're going to sell us a bunch of sugar. And then that's going to fund your government, blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. Fidel takes over. When it came time to buy the sugar, the Americans were like, yeah, so this is what we're going to need you to do. And Fidel said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to run Cuba as Cuba. We're not going back to how you guys were treating it like a Vegas, coming over here, gambling and doing all kinds of rich people stuff like insider trading and the mob ran Cuba. So there's a lot of dirty money happening. And Fidel, that's why he took over. He wanted that shit to be gone. And then when the United States went back on their deal with him, they're like, nope, we're going to sit here. We're going to watch you shrivel up. He said, well, that's not going to happen. He goes to the other superpower. When mom says no, you go to dad. So they went to Russia. They're like, yo, and Russia's like, yeah, we'll hook you up, but we got to put missiles over there. That's why they're communist.
Interesting.
And you can go get an education in Cuba from kindergarten all the way up to your doctorate for free. So when all hell breaks loose and there's wars happening all over the place and America wants to explain, or the United States wants to explain to you how shitty Cuba is, then why is it that Cuba always sends doctors?
Yes. Yep. They're always sending their doctors everywhere.
Period.
And yeah. I mean, so anytime a nation goes to socialize their government or nationalize resources, there's always some shady shit that happens with the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
I think in 2001, Saddam Hussein was like, you know what? We're gonna move off the petrodollar. We're not gonna do this. 2 years later, we invade. In
Mm-hmm.
2010, Libya was like, you know what? We don't like the petrodollar. We're gonna create the African gold dollar. 2 years later, the CIA destabilizes the country. We bomb them. Now, Libya is all fucked up. In 2021, Venezuela was like, you know what, we have a lot of oil and we don't want to sell it on the petrodollar market, so we're going to go by ourselves and work with BRICS. And then 2 years later, we bomb and invade Venezuela. And it's just a pattern of anytime a sovereign nation wants to, I mean, so this started way back in the even with Iran. There
Yeah.
was a leftist populist government that wanted to nationalize the oil reserves in Iran. That pissed off British Petroleum, so British
Mm-hmm.
Petroleum went to whoever in MI6. MI6 worked with the CIA, and we overthrew that government, installed the Shah, which was a benefit to our national interests, but not a benefit to the people he subjected, all of this torture and torment to. And then that resulted in the 1979 Islamic Revolution that installed the Ayatollahs that we're now
Mm-hmm.
fighting against. And it's just like, yeah, the problems of today we created generations ago by our
Mm-hmm.
own failed imperialist policy to uphold the system of capitalism and ensure that we could always get cheap resources from predominantly brown nations, because at the end of the day, racism has been an ingrained part of our culture from the foundation of our nation. And there we are in this country, we are either consciously or subconsciously or subliminally, whatever you want to call it, taught to not trust women and people of color.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so easy. So, like, when Palestine is getting bombarded and all these people are dying, people are like, eh. But in the Ukraine, when that's happening, people are like, oh my God, how we
Send
have to
them
help these
unlimited
people. It's like,
money.
oh, okay, so we have to
Yeah.
help the white people, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And in Palestine, it's the white folks, because the Jewish people that are there and the government that is there isn't Bibi. I heard Bibi is from like,
Poland.
Yep. His
is
dad,
he?
I think
I
his
think it's
dad
Poland or
or
Belgium or something.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing, y'all?
Oh,
What are we doing?
so
What and all of that skirmishing that's happening out there, it's yeah, there's a bunch of shitty business people, but it's also religiously based.
oh the I know that Mike Huckabee was talking with Tucker Carlson and was saying how everything going on over there is based off of the interpretation of the Old Testament. And it's very frustrating because it's like, I love when people, especially like the Supreme Court, are like, oh, we need to follow the Constitution based off of what the founders were thinking when they wrote it. And so in 1796, one of the first, I think it was one of like the first treaties we signed was the Treaty of Tripoli, unanimously approved by the Senate. And in that treaty, it specifically states that the United States is not a government based off of the Christian religion in like any way, shape, or form. It was obviously much,
Right.
nicer wording, but a Senate ratified treaty is federal law, and that Senate was comprised of mostly the founding fathers. And so it's very interesting that people always seem to ignore that whole situation that specifically says that we are not a Christian nation. And then we're still using the Bible, the Christian book, to dictate our foreign policy, which goes
Mm-hmm.
against the foundation of our nation and the words of our founders. And I'm just like, the hypocrisy is mind-boggling.
Yeah. In a country that you're supposed to have the freedom to worship or not, however you want.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're jamming this bullshit down our throats. And when I say bullshit,
It's like, we're not talking about Grindr again, are we? Oh.
It always circles back.
And by bullshit, I mean, it's they're forcing this religion down our throats when the religion that I was brought up in, Jesus was the Prince of Peace. You're supposed to turn the other cheek. You're supposed to watch out for your neighbor. You're supposed to take your shirt off your back and give it to the person who needs a shirt. All this shit.
Washing prostitutes' feet.
Yep.
And get this one. Because there's a lot of y'all going to hell. In the book itself, in the Holy Bible, this is my favorite one. It says, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Sabbath was Saturday.
See, but this is how they keep the MAGA cattle.
You can't even live. You can't even live according to the rules that you set forth.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, so it always amazes me. I wear a cross. Well, that's my microphone, but I actually wear a cross. I haven't always worn a cross. I started wearing it more recently. Actually started like last year when Trump was reelected, because, well, when I'm outside, especially in the summer, I'm usually shirtless because I just sweat a lot and it's gross. I don't like it. But a lot of my neighbors are MAGA, and they're nice people otherwise. And, I'll talk with anyone.
Sure.
But a lot of times, they will bring up Jesus. And so I started wearing this cross, and it started getting people would ask me like, oh, that's such a beautiful cross. And I'm like, thank you. I just felt it was important to remind people of the true message of Jesus. And as you were saying, taking care of the immigrant, taking care of the poor, the sick, the homeless, the prostitute, that, a camel would sooner get through the eye of a needle than a rich man would enter the kingdom of heaven. And I think you can kind of like see them like crunching the data, and like I feel like I can like sense that conflict within them, that they're supporting a man that does the literal exact opposite of everything that Jesus said that a good person should do in their lives to show that they are committed to his message, while worshiping a rich man whom Jesus threw tables at.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But then,
and we're not even getting into the creepiness of it all, of that life, of his lifestyle. This is even before we get into the gluttonous grossities that is his life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that could be a whole nother podcast just going on that, which is, although I have started noticing a few neighbors take their Trump flags down, although that came after the incident in Iran, I still find it very, very problematic that after it was discovered that Trump was in the pedophiles 38,000 times, and that's just what we know of because we still don't have the full unredacted files. I think Jamie Raskin said that his name appears up to 1 million times. I really I think that was the moment that I kind of like had to take a hard look at humanity, because I'm like, if we can't agree on pedophilia being bad, I don't know how to have a conversation. How?
Yeah.
See, down here in Florida,
and then
it's like it's a mixed bag, because right now I see less hats, I see less flags, I see faded bumper stickers. But then you go onto the comments of like the local police scanner page, figure out what's going on out here. Then you see, oh, there was an ICE arrest, and then they're all like, yeah, get them out of here. They're doing their job. Why are you talking shit? Like it's woven. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's so embedded in the DNA that it's like a muscle memory. They can't shake it out, whether they're wearing a hat or their racism on their sleeve. You know what I'm saying? It's the hatred is there, and it's sick, man. And they're not displaying it as much, but they're talking about it. They're talking about it.
Yeah.
So that is one of my there's like 1,000 concerns, but I so after the Holocaust and after Nazi Germany fell, like, what were those conversations like with neighbors?
Well,
Like, oh, hey, I tried to tell you that Hitler was an awful person that was going to do these awful things, and you
well,
went ahead with it. Like, how did the German people reconcile? Like, what does reconciliation in America's future look like now that we know that 40% of the population, pedophilia was not a hard line for them?
A deterrent. Yeah.
well, in Project
Like,
Paperclip, they brought German
how do we
scientists
move
over here,
forward?
right? In Project Paperclip, they brought all the German scientists
Yeah,
over here,
yes.
and
Right.
they gave them all the secrets and all this other stuff. It's no different than what they're doing with Israel. They bring all the Israelis over.
And
They,
they got
you
to
know what I'm
work at
saying? It's like
NASA.
to a T. Yeah. Hey.
So NASA, NATO, Nazi, they all begin with NA.
Yeah.
Because I think the first like Secretary General of NATO, I think was a former SS or something. And I'm like, so
Yep.
even
That's
learning that the
crazy.
Nuremberg trials didn't cover everyone was upsetting.
Yeah, but how did they get past
Yeah,
that?
and
Like,
that's the
hey,
first thing. The Nuremberg trial,
Mm.
the first step is going to be Nuremberg trial, like holding people accountable. And let me tell you, America, United States, I keep saying that, United States, if you do not hold these people's feet to the fire
Mm-hmm.
and you don't clean house, you get exactly what you deserve.
Okay.
You're asking for this dumb shit.
Well, honestly,
and it doesn't work for you.
I think we need 3 sets of Nuremberg trials. One for the Gaza and Palestine, one for the Epstein files, and one for all the ICE abuses. And all of those
No,
people need to be held accountable.
And let's make it 4, because one for all the knuckleheads in government. Because I'm sorry, but I always forget his name.
Eric Swalwell?
Stephen Miller.
No, that's Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller needs to pay a price.
Oh, yes. Yes.
This entire cabinet needs to pay the price. Kristi Noem, all those idiots. All those idiots need to pay the price. Because I'm sorry, Black and brown community, we can't turn into the white neighborhoods without getting pulled out of the car. But white folks can come over here and destroy the entire government?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, no, I quit my job. No, bitch. No, bitch. That's not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
We need scalps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. So, I used to love Obama. He could do no wrong. I would drink the blue Kool-Aid straight from his whatever. And and then later in life, I learned he deported more people than I think even Donald Trump did in his first term. He killed more civilians with drones than any other president. But also, The Hague wanted to charge W. Bush and his cabinet for war crimes and crimes against humanity. And Obama was like, no, if you do that, we'll invade the Netherlands and like destroy something, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, George W. Bush and that whole administration should have been held accountable for everything they did, with Guantanamo Bay, with Abu Ghraib, Abu Ghraib? That
Abu
one.
Ghraib.
Abu Ghraib. And that was never done. We never held those people accountable. And then Trump comes by. He's found to have been the instigator of January 6th. And what does Biden and Merrick Garland do? Well, it would look bad to put a president on trial. No.
And even worse, McConnell.
Oh, it's too late to hold him accountable because he's so senile. Like he's done. Like his brain is mush.
Yeah.
Whenever you see a video of him and someone's talking to him, he's like,
falling down.
You no chin having ass bitch.
He looks like a turtle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was around when the founding fathers were around.
Along with the incumbent that I'm
he
challenging.
was the intern.
Well,
Yeah,
see,
it
they're
is.
doing this to their own people now too, because you notice with World Liberty Financial, right? They dump it full of money, right? And then all these guys like Justin Sun, they come in there, they put all their money in there, and then like all of a sudden Trump pulls all of his money out, right? And then Justin's like, well, I want to pull my money out too. Well, you can't. We're gonna freeze you right now because we don't have any money in the account.
That's
Now,
crazy.
now the billions, the 45, 90 million dollars that you invested in the company in this crypto coin, we pulled it out. So we don't really have any money to pay you back. So now they're all gonna, if they start to break a little bit, because Justin Sun is gonna sue the Trump family, right? So we'll see how this starts to play out. Like when the billionaires start to get pissed at each other, what happens? You know what I'm saying? Steve Witkoff's son got busted at a club in Miami the other day because he was doing cocaine, got kicked out of a club, and then him and his buddy decided to either punch or kick a bouncer or the owner. I can't remember which one it was. Right. So now he's all over the place, doing dumb shit. Right. So now this isn't just a Hunter Biden laptop or cocaine in an envelope or something like that. These are billionaires exposing themselves because they're getting out of control, a little reckless. So,
But I mean, it makes sense though. We know that a lot of these billionaires are pedophile murderers, and no one's gone to jail. So of course they feel emboldened to do whatever they want. Because again, if we can't draw the line at pedophilia, ritualistic sacrifice, and eating the flesh of the ritually sacrificed raped children, cocaine means nothing.
Nothing. Cocaine is old.
Like, yeah, that's so 2010. Like,
so 1970s.
yeah, seriously. Like, damn, I miss it when
Studio 54.
someone snorting a line of coke was the worst thing that they could have done.
Unless you're RFK and you're doing it off a toilet.
And he's in charge of health. He's in charge of health.
He's in charge of but
it helps build
I don't know
the
if
immune
either of you
system.
saw this the other day though. Well, he's just another that worm ate way more of his brain than any of us were led to understand. But the other day, he and my incumbent, Rosa DeLauro, got into this heated argument over raw milk. I don't know if you saw that, but it was weird because I was like, out of all the things that we are getting very heated and passionate about, I'm like, I feel like raw milk isn't the top of the list. I think there are a lot of other health concerns that we should be passionate about besides, raw milk. And it was a very interesting exchange between the two of them because I could barely understand the words coming out of either of their mouths because they're just in an advanced part of their life where the biology of the body doesn't keep up with certain things. And it was just like, can we please have people that can form full sentences be in our government and debate these things and not have it just be I mean, these same people have been fighting each other for the past 30 years. And people really expect things to change by just, voting blue no matter who, unless it's Mamdani, of course.
And this is what's frustrating about all these knuckleheads that are, we'll say, in charge. Elon Musk was in charge of Doge, and he went through and he picked apart all of these programs and all this government spending, ended up wasting way more money than it was worth. Then he goes on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan goes, hey, how much corruption was in there? And he says, 100, 200 billion, $200 billion. And everybody's like, oh, right? Call me old and patinaed, I'm looking at him and I was like, bitch, weren't you in charge? You don't have not one spreadsheet to open up and show us? We have to go off of your opinion. Oh, 100 billion, 200 billion, easy 200 billion. Was it? If it was that easy, bitch, go get the spreadsheet.
I have a spreadsheet
Show me
in
some
my mind.
receipts.
Show us. And everybody's just eating out of this dude's hand. I'm like, he's an idiot. To me, he's an idiot. Elon is one of those rich boys that's just smart enough to make daddy smile, and he got all the fucking funds and he got all the things. But he hasn't done shit. Elon is an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Elon is an idiot. He doesn't even do public speaking that good. If you're going to take out a goddamn flamethrower, don't look like a pussy doing it. I'm so tired of Elon. I'm so tired of Elon. Give me Elon money. Give me not even Elon money. Give me a fraction of Elon money and watch me blow this place apart. We're going to have so many smart kids. We're going to have so much school. I was talking to my sister about Elon, and I said, you know what I would do if I was president? I would go get Elon. This is my to-do list. First, Citizens United, gone. Next, fund education to a ridiculous level. All the schools, I don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. Then I would go get Elon, and I would make him do Doge, all that Doge bullshit, over at the Defense Department. Why Elon? Because fuck him. Because we need to see, he needs a spreadsheet to show us how much money he stole from the government.
Hell yeah.
I mean, he gets billions of dollars in contracts every year.
That's all I'm saying.
And then, so, he owns SpaceX. So
he bought. He didn't start it. He bought it. He bought Tesla. He bought PayPal.
Yep.
He bought the Boring Company. He bought.
Using.
You know how smart I would be if I had millions of dollars in the bank?
But then he bought them with the shares. Like, so he was even smarter because he bought them with shares and not even actual money. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, with Twitter, he put up his shares with Tesla as collateral to the bank. And I was watching Trevor Noah one time, and he was trying to explain it because, people are always like, oh, you can't tax Elon Musk because he doesn't have money because of this. Assets. But then he was able to use the money to buy something, but not money that can be taxed. And it's just like, oh, okay, cool. So we have a system where the same money that can be used to buy things can't be taxed, but only if you're rich. That makes no fucking sense.
I want to give you this empty bag. It's filled with imaginary money. So I want to get whatever I want, and then just cash it whenever you want, but don't, because it doesn't exist. It's ridiculous how they rig every single game there is.
Mm-hmm.
Every single game.
Yup. And again, there's I forget which show it's based off of, but there's a meme where there's the two buttons, and then there's the guy with like the handkerchief like sweating, like which one do I press? And one of them is, a 0.001% chance of becoming a billionaire, or a 99.99% chance that you could have all your basic needs met. And it's just like, it's so weird how people they would rather live in squabble and squander on the off chance that they could be one of the very few people that somehow breaks into a system that is not designed for them to be these billionaires, versus voting and promoting policy and being for policy that could literally ensure that they never have to worry about money ever again. And I'm not saying that, we should have a system where if you don't do anything to contribute to society, you live in a penthouse with, a gold toilet. That's Donald Trump's gig.
Yeah.
But everyone should be guaranteed the basic necessities of life: housing, food, water,
education,
broadband internet. Because, I yesterday I went to a group with homeless people because in Connecticut, April 22nd was the last day that heating shelters were open, and now they're all closed, and now all these homeless people basically just got evicted from, you know, their communal heating shelter. And, you know, someone was saying like, no, I can't even apply to jobs because I don't have internet because my phone was disconnected. And so again, like I just think that people should be guaranteed the minimum of what they need to survive in this country, and then if they want something more, they'll work for it. I don't
Right.
imagine everyone being like,
It works in Dubai.
Yeah.
It works in Dubai.
When they had the surplus of money, like $94 million, you know, like Pete Hegseth had, and they had the surplus of money, and they just decide, oh well, we have to blow it by the end of the year. Well, why can't we just
Mhm.
repurpose it? You know what I'm saying? Reallocate the funds to
Yeah.
that would be a benefit for people that really actually need it. Again, it makes too much sense.
And before the rich people get all nervous, rich people, when they watch this video, they start getting nervous and they start calling us socialists. Even if we don't touch the tax, whatever, schedule, whatever, even if we don't touch that, whatever money we're spending in Iran, in Israel,
Mm-hmm.
in Ukraine, in El Salvador, in Venezuela, in Cuba, all that money could go to making more United States scientists, United States teachers, United States doctors. Education is the key, y'all. I don't care. I don't care. It all comes down to that. And now, ever since Trump took over, it has shown us that we need to invest in education way more because we have people getting tricked at simplest things. The simplest things. All someone has to do is get on TV and say, Jesus told me to bomb countries?
That's it.
mm-hmm.
And boo the Pope for not wanting to stop Iran from building nukes.
It is so crazy to me. Um, the So I remember what was it? Who was the Pope before this? Pope Leo. I think he went to the Congress and was talking about at one point like climate change came up, and I think Chris Christie at the time was, you know, lauding the Pope for being against abortion and being pro-life. And then he was like, but, you know, the Pope took it too far when he started talking about climate change. Like, you know, the Pope should stay out of political topics. I'm like, okay, wait a
Yeah.
minute. So he's the Pope, and if you're a Catholic, the Pope is the Word of God because he's anointed by God to be his voice on earth. And so you agree with him on one thing,
The
but then
war
you
part.
disagree with him on the other thing. And the abortion thing is purely a religious construct because there is no scientific definition that says that a fetus is actually, you know, life. There's no scientific consensus on when life begins. That is a religious interpretation of when life begins.
Mm-hmm.
But the climate, that can be both religious and scientific.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, again, there's no consistency in people's admiration or disgust with the Pope or Jesus or whatnot. And it just seems that a lot of people just want to use the Bible and Jesus and whatever to justify their own bigotry. And a lot of times I feel like that bigotry is just a result of unresolved trauma. I feel like a lot of problems in this world is unresolved trauma. Like, look at Donald Trump. His
Yeah.
father, you know, never gave the man a hug. I'm not saying that excuses all the atrocious shit that he's doing, but maybe if, you know, there was better mental health care in this country and less stigma against mental health, Donald Trump could have had a therapist who could have helped him work through the trauma of having such a shitty father. And maybe he would
Yeah.
not have grown up to want to rape women, eat their flesh, and take away rights from everyone else because he wasn't hugged enough as a child.
Well,
And that's
maybe
why
maybe
I'm a very big
maybe
proponent
his
of mental health
maybe his
services.
dad had it. Maybe his dad was on his own Epstein Island, and he kind of brought that home.
Well, his dad, we're learning his dad wasn't worth half a shit either.
Oh yeah.
He dodged a draft. Was it his dad,
Yep.
Fred, that
Mhm.
dodged a draft in
Germany.
And
Yep.
he came over here, and that's why they're over here.
And he opened up a brothel, made a
And then
whole
he
bunch
tried
of
to go
money.
back, and they said, "No, get out of here because you're a pussy."
Yep. Pretty much. Like father, like son.
Mhm. And I do not want to. So like when Trump either dies or I mean if he's alive in 2028, I feel like somehow he'll be able to run for office because somehow when the Democrats are in power, their hands are tied. Their hands are always
Yeah.
tied. When
Yeah.
Republicans are in power, suddenly though, there's no hand tying. And so I have a very big issue with the establishment Democrats because at the end of the day, I
Yeah.
just feel like they are, for the most part, controlled opposition. I mean, they're both bought and paid for by the same
100%.
corporations. The same corporations
100%.
that, funded Donald Trump
same
are the same
PACs.
corporations that are funding, Rosa DeLauro, Jim Himes, Joe Courtney. They're all in bed with one another. And at the end of the day, yeah, I just feel like both parties are there to ensure that the capitalist system stays in place. And I mean, even Chuck Schumer said that his most important duty as the Senate Majority Leader is to ensure that the Democratic Party always remains pro-Israel. And I'm like, shouldn't your duty as the leader of the Democratic Party in the Senate be to ensure that the people of America have what they need and deserve to be, alive in this country and to be citizens of this country? So like, I mean, at the end of the day, they are all more beholden to Israel and what the Israeli government wants versus their own people. And it's on both sides. And that's why we just need to get rid of all of them.
Hakeem Jeffries too. He's on the same shit. It's almost like so like we're all running towards like this American dream and free ourselves of all this bullshit administration, and then we get to a certain line, then all of a sudden they stop, and they're all behind us, and they're like, no, we can't go that far. You reach the line where we like that's where we're getting our money from. We got to pump the brakes. Whoops, we hit a wall.
Well, yeah, so
But we are starting to see a little bit of a change though, because apparently if you receive money from AIPAC now, that's just toxic.
So it is toxic. And so I think even like Massachusetts, Seth Moulton, who's in the House and he's running for Senate, I'm supporting Alex Raclean, though. I hope he gets his ballot signatures in time. But yeah, I think even Seth Moulton returned the money to AIPAC because it is toxic. But now AIPAC is finding ways around that.
Yeah,
and we just saw that in
exactly.
Illinois, where like they're like, women for Congress or something. And these sound like, great progressive organizations. But then when you look at the funding, it's just AIPAC creating a shell organization, giving money to that, and then running ads on their behalf as these shell things because AIPAC is such a toxic label.
Yeah.
As it should be, because they are literally promoting and pushing for this genocide because they want that land. And they're willing to murder whoever they need to in order to get it. I'm like, that doesn't sound very. I feel like that is a complete contradiction to what I understand about the Jewish religion, which, like most religions, is focused on the idea of like peace and love,
making the world a better place.
Yeah, making the world a better place for everyone. And so that also, going back to Jesus and Christianity and everything. Jesus has more blood relation to the Palestinians than he does to modern day Jewish people, because a lot of modern day Jewish people are converted Europeans into the Jewish religion, and they're not actually the ethnic Jews that were once expelled from the Levant thousands of years ago. And not even all the Jewish people were expelled thousands of years ago. Many remained, and there were Jewish Palestinians. And I believe up until Zionist propaganda started taking a hold in Europe, the Palestinians always welcomed Jewish people into that land. It was only once Zionism started taking a hold where the Palestinians were like, well, you're talking about coming here and kicking us out. So yeah, we don't want you here anymore. And then the Zionists worked with Hitler to, I think, buy land in Palestine and move bankers over there to start establishing a force that would, supersede the Palestinian wishes of not having these Zionists come into Palestine, with the understanding that the Zionists wanted to ethnically cleanse the land of them. And so it's just it's a big mess. And AIPAC. So going back to whole Nuremberg trials, every single person in AIPAC and every single person who ever accepted money from AIPAC should stand trial.
Yep.
I mean,
which would be our entire government.
Right. But we need to flush the toilet. We need to get all these folks out. Yeah, that's all it is.
I was like,
that's all it is. We're in the same bowl, and we got a bunch of turds just floating around. We got to get rid of all of them, and put people like you in place with a different relationship to money and a different relationship to community.
But the thing that has to be different this time is because I'm a part of several groups. A lot of them have overlap, but there are hundreds of people across the country that are running. Reasoned Reality, you're a part of that, so you already know about that. There's Citizens, Impeachment, and Courage for Democracy. And so one of the things that I've noticed, and so this is kind of what disappoints me a little bit about someone like Mamdani. He had those 50,000 volunteers help him become mayor. Why is he not using those 50,000 volunteers to help, people like Karen Ortiz in New York 12, or Vance Bostic in New York 8, or some of these people in in the New York City area that are more aligned with him? We can't just keep electing these people into office and then being like, okay, cool, I don't need your help anymore, I'm here. No. If I make it into office, I still can't do anything alone. You need to have a power base, and you always have to have people that will show up, because if you make it into Congress and you don't keep that power base and you don't bring that power base along with you, nothing will change again. And so people really need to understand that democracy is not a spectator sport. Democracy doesn't begin and end on election day. It is a daily process. It is something that requires nurturing. It's like a dog or a child. It constantly needs attention. It constantly needs guidance. It constantly needs supervision in order for it to be healthy and grow. And that's what I hope people will eventually understand, is that you always need to be on top of democracy.
So what does your campaign need right now?
Always money. Money's always a good thing. So that is one of the catch-22s or whatnot, is, people who support campaigns like mine and grassroots campaigns, they're the ones that don't have a lot of money. So that is an unfortunate reality in itself. But at the same time, these people love that we're not taking corporate donations. But because we're not taking corporate donations, we need these people to step up and give us money. And so it is that weird, okay, well, I would rather lose the election than accept a dime from a corporation. And that's just the way it is, because I never want to be compromised because a corporation gave me money. But then that does require people to have skin in the game. And so, a lot of times I try and encourage people, if you go to Starbucks every day, or, skip Starbucks once and give it, and if you're in Connecticut, give it to this campaign. If you're in New York, give it to someone in New York. If you're wherever, it requires everyone doing a little bit of sacrificing. But if you have thousands or hundreds of thousands of people willing to sacrifice, a couple of dollars, then each person the more people that are a part of a movement of candidates like we're seeing this year, the less each individual has to sacrifice. But it's getting everyone on board and understanding the urgency of the moment. And so yes, fundraising is always, a big hurdle for a lot of grassroots candidates. And then even just getting the message out there. Some of the easiest things that a person can do is repost or comment or like
Mhm.
or share, because the algorithms, they look for that data. They look to see who is getting more comments, who is watching full videos, who is getting the likes, and then it promotes those people more. Following on social media, like, these are easy things to do that you can do doom scrolling at night. Find some grassroots candidates, and if they post something, repost it for them and get that message out there, and get people to understand. If you have friends and if you see someone and people in Connecticut 3rd District, reach out to them, say, hey, have you heard about this guy? Look into him. Reach out to him directly if you can help. Volunteers, there's a lot of, canvassing has to obviously be done in Connecticut, but you can, if you live in California, you can do phone banking for, people in Connecticut. You can do research for the campaign because, I have, however, I lost track, but, if I have 40 policy points, we we need to know, how has Rosa DeLauro voted in the past 30 years on some of these policy points. Because if I have the opportunity to debate her, or if someone asks me a question about how does this differ from Rosa DeLauro, I'm confident it does, but it would be helpful to know exactly how. But it's very challenging for one person to go research, deep dive into 40 different categories of information, versus having one person, having 40 people each take one issue, do a deep dive, and give a summary, so that I have the knowledge base to know how to counter arguments against the incumbent. Um, so those are, the best ways of helping. And then the other way is just staying engaged with your community, because at the end of the day, all of this will only work if there's community. And if you are unwilling to build community where you are, then it has a ripple effect. And in the other sense, it has, a magnifying effect, that if, community in New York can help someone like Karen Ortiz. And if someone like Karen Ortiz gets into Congress and I get into Congress, well, then I have an ally.
Mhm.
So it
Right.
can't just be one person. It has to be a movement of people all supporting one another in an understanding that our future is on the line. And if we want to see things get better, if we want to see things change, we cannot keep electing the same people with the same policies that will do the same exact thing, but we have to stay engaged, and we always have to be educating people on the issues and the fact that there are options this year. And then also, if anyone does want to, the voting for a lot of these candidates is not in November. There are several states, I think like Indiana, they start primaries in May. In Connecticut, the primaries in August. But a lot of these candidates, it doesn't even start at the primary; it starts at ballot access. And so getting people to understand that if you want to see change in your area, start looking now, because some of these candidates might need a signature to even make it onto the ballot, to even give you an option in the primaries that
Mhm.
happen before the general election. And that was such a rant.
No, but it's good. I think folks need to understand that it's not that difficult to activate.
Mhm.
It's just really not.
Mhm.
Um, being able to help, and we understand when people are saying things like, "Oh, the government never changes," and all this stuff. We are clearly seeing that we can make that change. Rich people, the incumbent that you're talking about, Rosa de Rosa, whatever her name is, her, the Hakeem Jeffries, all these folks, the establishment folks that have all the money,
Mhm.
they move in those circles. We have our own circle. We're a bunch of broke bitches out here trying to make a change. What we don't have is that shortcut that is money. But we do have time. And if you give time to make that change happen, it will, and it
Mhm.
can.
Yeah.
And leveraging social media is part of it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And
You
so
know?
another thing that I hope people understand is I understand like a lot of people, have to work 2, 3 jobs. They're tired and don't always have a lot of time, but things keep getting worse. And the
Right.
longer we wait, the worse it gets. So
Right.
if you are tired now, imagine what happens if something doesn't change in the next couple of years. You're going to be even more tired and more exploited in
Mhm.
5 years,
Right.
and then it'll make it
Imagine
even more
imagine how
challenging.
things imagine how more challenging things will be if this knucklehead gets $2 trillion added to the defense budget.
So I don't even call it the defense budget. I call it the imperial war budget because in
Right.
America we have the two largest oceans to our west and our east, and for now two allies to our north and our south. To actually
Mhm.
defend the homeland would be a fraction of the current budget because we are just so strategically located on the globe. It's all for our imperial
Right.
war endeavors. It is all for sending
100%.
tankers and bombs and munitions to blow up Venezuela, to blockade Cuba, to destroy Iran, to destroy Libya, to destroy Syria, to take out any sovereignty that doesn't capitulate to our capitalist desires.
Mhm.
It needs to stop, but it won't
Andrew,
stop by electing those same people.
Exactly.
you were out in the street. I believe you posted something. You were out there maybe a day or two ago, and you were talking to constituents out there. What what were some of their concerns, and what was their response to your feedback? Like to your response, like what was their, what they say?
I mean, the biggest one has been affordability. That I was very actually happy that another person was saying climate change because I always feel like climate change takes a huge back seat to a lot of issues. And at the end of the day, if we don't have a climate, then, then nothing else matters. And then Palestine was another big issue. I was on a college campus, so this is a very younger skewed crowd.
Mhm.
But the thing I realized is that the affordability crisis and Palestine and climate change, all three of those could be addressed by reducing imperial war spending. Because if we're
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
putting all this money into the war machine, then we wouldn't have, bombs dropping on Palestine committing a genocide. If we didn't put money into this war machine, we wouldn't have, all these airplanes and helicopters and bombs that are contributing more CO2 than any other large entity in the world.
Mhm.
And if we weren't spending all this money on dropping bombs and having tanks, that would be more money that we could be putting towards healthcare and education and housing subsidies so that people could afford more. So, a lot of times when people talk about these issues, they can all be solved by just, pulling back on military spending and rediverting resources into what truly matters. And to me, what truly matters is building up our society and not destroying other people's societies because they don't agree with us.
Yeah.
And it would be so much easier to maintain relationships or to convince different companies to convince different countries that our way is the right way of doing it. Because look
Mhm.
at everyone is fed, everyone is smart, everyone is rested. We don't blow things up, we build things up.
Mhm.
You go to literally any country and be like, "Look, we got it figured out." And they're going to be like, "Yeah, of course, let's do this."
Yep.
Instead of forcing it down their throats with bombs.
I mean, and that's another thing that I've come to realize, because like I think Hassan Piker got a lot of shit for this, but I see what his point was. Just like so, like October 7th, 1,200 people died. That was atrocious. That sucks. But it didn't happen in a vacuum.
Mhm.
Hamas didn't just wake up one day and decide, you know what, we're going to kill 1,200 Jewish people. No, they have been subjected to decades of oppression and murder and ethnic cleansing. And, if someone came into my house and shot my mom and dad, at a young age, because I think like half of Hamas is are orphaned children.
Ugh.
And so, of course, you're going to have this reaction to people seeing their families murdered in broad daylight.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, for, when the terrorist attacks of 9/11 happened, those were unacceptable, atrocious, disgusting. But at the time, I thought it was because these people hated us for our freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Decades later, I come to learn that that was in retaliation for what we did to Afghanistan back in the 1970s when we were fighting a proxy war with Russia. And so
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't need all of this defense if we just stopped pissing everyone
Picking
off.
fights, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'd have more money for our own people. So it's like win-win, except for the pedophile billionaire parasites that have trauma issues that make them want to just accumulate massive amounts of wealth so that they feel
Yeah.
better for the fact that their parents never hugged them. It's very sad.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you invested in therapists, more therapists than you did ICE agent, police officer, whatever you want to call it, you would find the resolution to a lot of our issues don't need a jail cell.
Mm-mm.
You don't
Oh.
need a cop. You don't need, like, if there's a husband and wife that are arguing over something, you don't need to call the cops. Call a therapist to help them work through it.
So, I mean, that I think even goes back to. So again, I think we need to fully fund education. I'm a big proponent of education, but our education system doesn't even teach us how to understand the human experience. Like being a humanity is beautiful. It's also very traumatic, and communication is beautiful, but it's also very fickle. And so in school, we're not even taught how to communicate with ourselves and with each other. And
Yeah.
so really having, education in understanding emotional maturity and emotional intelligence is just as important to me as math skills and science skills and English and writing skills. Like we really need to understand how to communicate with one another, because a lot of times, arguments arise from. So great example about miscommunication. I was talking to two people about Christmas. Person one was saying that, or we were saying that Christmas allows people to get together. Person one said Christmas allows people to get together. Person two was like, Christmas doesn't allow anyone to do anything. And person one's like, no, it does. They go back and forth for like 10 minutes arguing about what Christmas does or doesn't allow someone to do. I turned to person one and said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and say that you're using the word allow as in it facilitates multiple adults with busy schedules to get together on one day because we all have off. And she was like, yeah, that's exactly what I mean. And I turned to the second person. I'm like, I feel like you're using the word allow as in give someone permission to do something. And he's like, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like, so the two of you aren't even arguing about the same thing because you don't even have the same definition for the most simple word in that argument, allow.
Right.
And that's something that we're not taught to
I'm telling
understand.
we all use the same words, but we speak different languages.
Yep. And so understanding those nuances of human communication, I think really needs to start at a young age, because that just adds to the whole, trauma of feeling like you're not being understood. No one likes that.
It's frustrating.
It's so frustrating.
Or not even understanding is the next level. Being heard.
Well,
like, are you even listening to the words that are coming out of my mouth?
That is very true as well.
When I talk to local politicians and stuff, I say, especially back home in Chicago, I say, why is it that all I ever hear is kids asking for books and a good school and library, but you understand books, school, and library as cameras, cops, and guns.
Hmm. I mean, I mean, so that always goes back to, safety. And one of the best ways of creating a safe community is addressing crime at its source, and that is poverty. And if we
Hmm.
actually invested more into ensuring that people were not living in poverty, ensuring that we did. Another thing that I learned from people the other day
Hmm.
was people want to see more public funding for community centers so that children have a
Yeah.
place to go after school and have a place to
Yeah.
hang out and can all get together and not get into trouble. And so using the if if policing was the answer to safety, we should be the safest country in the world, and we are still not. So obviously just throwing
Correct.
more money at police has not done anything to genuinely improve our safety. Again, it's just that illusion that if you
Hmm.
but also anytime I see a cop, I don't feel safe. And
I've
I'm
never
white.
in my life have I ever.
Nope.
Yeah, never in my life have I ever. You want to see me start sweating? Let me be in the car doing 24 in a 25 and a cop pulled up behind me. See how I start sweating.
You get pulled
Yeah.
over. What are you doing? Doing the speed limit.
Yeah.
So I actually got pulled over one time because I was going 200. I was like 5 miles below the speed limit. I got pulled over for going too slow, and the only reason why I was going too slow is because I was worried about being pulled over by a cop. And I'm like, I was like,
Here's a good story. After the military, when I got out of the army, we moved from Chicago to Norwich, which is like it's a suburb across the street from Chicago. And we had just moved there and I hadn't gotten my license, the address on my license fixed yet or updated yet. And so I go and I stop at this stop sign and I look to my right and I see the cop there. And so then I turn and then I go to and I make the right-hand turn into the wrong neighborhood. I get pulled over because I didn't stop at the stop sign long enough.
Mhm.
And then he looks at my license and he goes, "Huh, Sunnyside. Aren't you a little far away from home, boy?" I'm a fucking veteran. And you're going to talk to me like that? I ended up getting a ticket for like $8 or something stupid because he knew it was bullshit, but I still got the ticket.
ugh.
Because I made that right-hand turn. I've made left-hand turns into the different neighborhoods too and been pulled over.
Mhm.
I've been in the streets, got pulled over for nothing, and got pulled out of the car for nothing.
Of course, of course.
A lot of cops doesn't fix this shit.
Nope, nope.
If anything, rich and powerful folks, if anything, your kids are coming to the hood to hang out with us because we do fun shit. We do fun shit in the hood. So your kid is going to get fucked up one of these days because your kid can't keep from coming to the hood, homie.
Mhm. Your kid, like that kid who got busted up in Miami for doing too much cocaine.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
You see what I'm
goodness.
saying?
Yeah.
They're going to get it. They're going to get it from somewhere.
Yep. Yeah.
They're
No,
coming
you're
to the
right.
hood. They're coming to the hood.
So I did realize that I gave myself a hard 4 o'clock cutoff, and I
Yeah.
bollocked that up. So I do have to start wrapping this up because I do have an event at
Okay.
5.
One thing
Take
I
a
want to
couple minutes.
one thing I
Oh,
want to
go
say
ahead. Go.
is that Andrew Rice is behind the scenes is fighting diligently to make the people in his district better, their lives better, right? So when they go to the ballots and they see his name, it's just not a name on a piece of paper. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that are behind that. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of good nature coming from behind that, and they have to understand that there is a human being that is actually compassionate and wants to see better for you. So if anybody in his district is watching or anybody in general, realize that this is actually a man that's trying to do good deeds in the world. So
Facts.
take a little
Thank
bit of
you.
time, dig into him and what he is doing. And if you got some time or some extra money, go ahead and show him some love. And we need more of that in the world. So Andrew, hats off to you, and go ahead and just drop some knowledge on these people real quick.
Yeah, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and your last parting words.
So my website is www.riceforct.com, all letters, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, YouTube is Andrew Rice CT3, no spaces, no punctuation. I am a leftist populist Democrat running against 35-year incumbent Rosa DeLauro. My big 3 policy points are Medicare for all, education funding, and revisiting FDR's Economic Bill of Rights. But beyond policy and platform, there are 2 parting pieces of advice that I like to give people. One, in a capitalist system that is designed to make you hate yourself so that they can sell you a solution you don't need, one of the most radical things you can do is self-love. So love yourself, love your neighbor, because that is one of the most radical things you can do. And then second is fighting fascism is exhausting, but we can't just fight against something. We have to fight for something. And so I fight to have fun in my life, because fun and joy is what gives me energy to fight another day. And to truncate that all, I say that fun fights fascism. So self-love and fun fights fascism.
Beautiful.
My
And
man.
not for anything, but 35 years and that's a long time to prove that you haven't done a good job. I don't know her. I don't know her track record. I'm going off of the folks that I know from Connecticut. But 35 years and things are where they are now. I don't know, y'all.
You're fired.
I don't know. 35 years.
35.
Christ.
Yup.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you
Thank you,
both.
Andrew.
This was fun. Thank you for inviting me back. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
The door's always open. You come, you let us know, you're always welcome.
Well, hopefully the next time I'm here, it will be as the Democratic nominee for the general election.
Let's go. Hell yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Thanks again, gentlemen. I'll talk to you later.
Take it easy.
All right, everybody. And with that, we're out.
Peace.